Hi traders, I'm here to do my weekly recap. So it's unfortunate my first weekly recap is about a loss. However, I think losses can teach a lot more lessons than anything else. So I hope you learn from my loss and avoid such trades, so you don't have to pay the price like I did. So I have certain rules for shorting, right? Um, and so this trade is of Annie, ticker ANY, right? Um, and it's a low float. For those of you who don't know what a float is, it's basically the amount of shares that can be traded, publicly traded, right? Um, so this is a low float. I believe the float is um, 1.5 million, something like that. So really, really low float. So one of my rules is to never short anything that's below 4 million float. If I do, I want to make sure it's on the back side of the move, not the front side when it's spiking really hard. And I did completely opposite to my own rule and paid the price for it. Since it's a very small account that I'm trying to grow, this loss is a huge one. And that just led to more losses, right? And I started to, I tried to overtrade and try to get back the money. That's like the worst way to cope up with a loss because you're probably going to lose a lot more by doing so. So anyway, so here is a little background on what's happening, right? There was some stupid news on this date, on ANY, November the 20th. The stock spikes like crazy. I think it was up like 150% or something like that. And the next day it spikes up, and I made a little bit of money on this day shorting it. I think I shorted it like 680 or something like that, and then covered. I didn't wait for this full pullback. So I made like 10%, roughly 10% on this day. And then the next day it spiked and then it closed green. The following day, again, it opened up red and then it started spiking, right? When it started spiking, I got interested. I wanted to short it. So for some reason, I mean, not for some reason, I mean, I was risking this high of 718. So I shorted it at 695, risking of 718. So the problem is not that I was shorting it at 696. That's a perfect entry. I mean, I would take a trade like that again. The problem is I'm shorting the front side of the move of a stock. That's 1.5 million float. Uh, very bad decision to make. So anyways, so I for some reason got shorted here at 696, and then it breaks 718 and I don't cut my loss. That's that's the that was the real problem. And I save all my charts, so kind of to help me see what I've done and stuff. So this is the day where it got spiking. This is the day I was shorting, right? So I shorted at, so this has already was spiking, right? So I'm shorting it here at 695. And then this spikes all the way to 770, right? So and I sell at I believe 760. Um, Here is the time stamped trade. So I showed Annie. I mean, you can see this ton of trades I made on Annie on that day. Again, another big mistake. So I'm shorting it as I shorted at 665, covered at 670, again shorted at 680, covered at 671, and then I'm shorting here this 200 shares. Like you can see, it's not like big amount of shares or anything, just 200 shares, 695, covering at 760, losing 130 bucks. For a small account, that's a big loss. You can see I was shorting like 932, like immediately out of the open, and then covering it 10 minutes later, almost at the top tick. Um, so, and then, again, I'm shorting at 730, right? All of this is emotional. At this point, it's all emotional. I'm just shorting um, left and right? So just going crazy here, just shorting because I wanted to get back the money I lost. That is the worst thing to do. But the way I should have traded this is wait for this to have a backside move, right? So ideally, I know for an inside, it looks like, oh, I know exactly what happened later on, so I'm saying this. But no, it's very simple. Um, so this red line right here is nothing but a VWAP. So this kind of gives you an idea where the weighted average volume is based on the price, right? So um, in a simple way to look at it is if the price is above the VWAP, it's ideally good for the longs, right? I'm not saying it can crash right back down. All that I'm saying is in more situation, it's it's ideal for the longs. When it goes below the VWAP, that's it's kind of getting into the bears territory. I'm not saying the stock is dead or anything. I'm just saying that's one simple way to look at VWAP, right? So here it spikes, it comes right back down. See, here's a perfect example. Like if you think, oh, it's below VWAP, I'm going to short it, you're going to get burned because it spikes right back up, right? So that's not how you look at VWAP. However, it can kind of give you an idea of what's happening. So this is still, so when it comes back down and you wait for this to base, right, and then spikes up. So here now it made the support right here, right? And then you can see it's slowly grinding back up, and then it breaks the day high and it struggles at $8. So um, I wouldn't short here, but where I would short would be right here, right? Because I saw this struggling. It went up, broke 8, struggled, slammed right back down, again went back up in the same place. It made a double top, slammed right back down from VWAP, takes off, and I would be shorting right here because that's a lower high. If I short right here, I'm risking basically the day high. If it breaks that, I have to cut my loss. But if it breaks down, then my profit would be, I would be covering somewhere close to this support it made on the intraday chart. So that is that is the way to trade this. But instead, somehow I managed to short here, and then I struggled. But if you see, I actually shorted at 785. And I just covered too soon, right? Because that's what happens when you look at this. I shorted at 785 um, at 11:33. So let me see, 11:33. So yeah, somewhere here, 11:33, and I covered at 11:39, somewhere at 770 or something like that. So I'm covering somewhere here, right here, um, because again, I got a little bit early on the short. Had I waited for this to come back up and short it here, I would have stayed a lot more patient. So my strategy is pretty simple in shorting, right? So I wait for the stock to spike and then wait for the backside move and wait for this to make a high of the day and then short the next um, lower high. right? And then cover it at the next support, at the real support, the intraday support. So in this case, I should have shorted at 780 and covered somewhere close to 710, right? But instead, I made a mess of this. So you can totally see this. Um, anyways, so I hope you learn some of these lessons, right? Not short the front side of the move. That is the worst thing you can do, especially on the low float. If a stock is less than 4 million float, do not short it on the front side of the move. Always remember that. So that's the lesson for this week, and there is a lot more to learn. Um, so just keep watching my weekly videos, and if you have questions, just post them on the comments section, and I would be happy to answer some of those questions. And I know there's a lot of uh, words uh, a lot of things you might not understand. So especially if you're a new trader and if you didn't understand them, please ask me on the comment section. I might make a video explaining those basic stuff. If, for example, if you don't understand what a support is, what a resistance is, right? That's all I use. I don't use any fancy technical stuff, right? Like you see a lot of people have a bunch of lines and so forth. Good for them. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. They're probably a lot better technical traders than I am, but simple works for me. Simple resistance and support. The more the longer the chart is, I'm more interested in the support and resistance. So this is a resistance, for example, which I was using 718, right? Because a lot of times the stock will pull back when it's 718, but in our case, it just broke through this, right? Just started flying because it was early in the morning, and I wasn't waiting for the backside of the move. So, and support is basically for example, the stock here closed at the low was 411. The next day, if you see, the low was 410. The stock supported that low from the previous day. So that's basically is the support, and you can also see there is more support on these candles right here. So if you don't understand any of this that I'm saying, please ask on the comment section, and I would love to help you understand this. I it took me a while to figure out how to deal with any of this stuff, right? Um, so I just wanna help some of you out, so you're not you're not paying a big price to learn simple basic stuff. So that's all for you guys, and also if you have any special request on things that you really want to learn, don't ask me like how to use MACD, RSI, because I just don't use them. Ask me how to use support and resistance, how to use VWAP, and when to short, or when to go long, or some of my strategy. I would be happy to answer those kind of questions. So that's all I have for you guys. Enjoy trading tomorrow. Stay safe. Have a wonderful evening.